She's got her own hands. She can pour it herself, I murmured. My mother's cheeks flushed an angry crimson. Ungrateful brat. After all we've ever done for you, she spat. The next thing I knew, a ceramic bowl crashed against my face with a brutal crack. Warm blood trickled down my chin, soaking into my shirt. That was the moment I decided they'd never see me again. My name is Chloe. I'm 26, and in that instant I finally understood. My family never once looked at me as a daughter. To them, I was unpaid help, a tool, someone to use until I broke. Half a year earlier, my life had been completely different. I was thriving in Chicago, working my very first full-time job after graduation, holding my business degree proudly, paying rent on my own apartment, and believing I had a promising future. But then the company downsized, my position vanished, and suddenly I was unemployed with bills piling up. My savings dwindled, rent loomed, and I had no choice but to move back home just until I found new work. I told myself it was temporary. I thought my parents would stand by me during a rough patch like any supportive family would. Instead, I fell straight back into the old nightmare. The role I'd always played growing up, the family maid. My younger sister, Jasmine, was the favorite, the golden child who could do no wrong. She was 22, still living at home, casually taking community college classes when she felt like it. Yet she was celebrated as their princess, while I was expected to scrub floors and keep everything running. The contrast burned every single day. I had a degree, drive, and ambition, but to them, I was simply the servant with a diploma. From the first day back, I was cooking every meal, washing their clothes, cleaning the entire house, and catering to Jasmine's every whim. Meanwhile, she floated around like royalty, never lifting a finger. They made it clear where I stood, and it wasn't as family. If you've ever been dismissed, ignored, or treated like the hired help in your own home, you'll understand the weight I carried. This community gets it. I know I'm not the only one who's been invisible in plain sight. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening in March. My parents had decided to host a huge dinner in Jasmine's honor. Not because she'd achieved something monumental, no, because she had finally signed up for 3 classes at the community college for the fall semester. She hadn't graduated, hadn't even started, just enrolled. Still, they wanted to treat it like a holiday. I spent the entire day in the kitchen, slaving over a meal worthy of a banquet. Roast chicken with herbs, garlic mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, and fresh rolls baked from scratch. I chopped, stirred, and sweated for 6 hours straight. Meanwhile, Jasmine was at a luxury spa, getting her nails polished and her skin pampered, funded by my parents, of course. By the time the table was set, it looked like Thanksgiving. Everyone gathered, beaming as if we were celebrating some extraordinary accomplishment. My father stood tall with a wine glass in hand. To Jasmine, he declared with pride, finally taking charge of her life, "We're so proud of you, sweetheart." "Thanks, Daddy," Jasmine cooed, her smile dazzling. "I'm really excited about my psychology classes. I think I want to help people someday." My mother's eyes glistened with approval. "That's wonderful, darling. You'll make such a difference in the world." I sat silently, my thoughts bitter. I'd already graduated with honors, built experience in corporate consulting, and was actively hunting for new opportunities while simultaneously cooking their meals, yet none of that was worth a mention. No toast, no pride, just silence. "Chloe," my mother snapped suddenly, "pour your sister some wine. This is her night." I looked at the bottle resting inches from Jasmine's hand. "She can pour it herself," I said evenly. The air grew heavy, colder than ice. "Don't you dare disrespect your sister," my father thundered. "She's going places. She's making something of herself. You're lucky we let you stay here after you failed," my mother added with venom. "The least you can do is show gratitude." Jasmine tilted her head, feigning concern, her lips curving into a cruel smile. "God, Chloe, why are you always so bitter? Just pour the wine. It's not that hard." "No," I replied, my voice calm and steady. "She has hands. She can use them." That was it. My mother snapped. She grabbed the heavy serving bowl from the middle of the table and hurled it at me with full force. The impact against my face was explosive. The ceramic shattered, shards flying across the room, and pain seared through my cheek as blood spilled down onto my shirt. And that was the moment I knew I was done. Blood poured down my face the moment the bowl struck, warm and sticky as it slid down to my shirt and splattered on the floorboards. The room froze. The only sound left was the slow, steady patter of blood dripping against the hardwood. Maybe now you'll remember your place in this house, my mother said flatly, her voice free of any remorse. My fingers trembled as I touched my cheek. Everyone at the table was staring not with concern, but with the same disgust you'd reserve for something foul. That was the last meal I ever had in that house. The next morning I woke to find a bandage taped to my face, my cheeks swollen, my left eye barely opening. When I stepped into the kitchen, the scene was surreal. My family was sitting around the breakfast table, cheerful and calm, as though nothing had happened. "Morning, sleepyhead," my father said without lifting his eyes from the paper. "Can you make pancakes? Your mother's craving them." I stood there in silence. "Are you serious?" I finally asked. My mother sipped her coffee and raised her eyebrows, her tone all fake innocence. "It's Wednesday. You always make breakfast on Wednesdays." Their first escalation wasn't the violence. It was the way they erased it from reality, expecting me to step back into my role as servant, as though my face hadn't been split open less than 12 hours earlier. When I refused, Jasmine groaned loudly. "Ugh, now I have to make my own breakfast, because Chloe's being dramatic." The second escalation was more insidious. Within 2 days, my mother had called nearly every relative, weaving her own story. My Aunt Linda rang me that afternoon. "Sweetheart, your mom said you had some sort of breakdown at dinner. She said you frightened poor Jasmine." I pressed the phone to my ear. "I didn't have a breakdown. Mom threw a bowl at me." Linda's voice softened, full of pity. "I know you're having a rough time with work, but you can't take it out on others. Your mother's just worried." Every family member got the same version. I was unstable, lashing out at my innocent sister. My mother had become the hero of her own narrative, a long-suffering parent trying to manage a troubled adult daughter. 3 days later came the third escalation, a so-called family time meeting. They sat me down in the living room, as though I were a child about to be scolded. "We've been talking," my father began. "We think you owe Jasmine an apology." I blinked at them. "An apology for what?" "For ruining her celebration dinner," my mother snapped. "For traumatizing her on her special night." Jasmine sat on the couch, eyes big and watery. "I couldn't sleep for 2 days, Chloe. You scared me so much. I never touched anyone. You threw a bowl at my face." "You provoked it," my father said coolly. "You were disrespectful and defiant. Your mother was only trying to teach you manners." My mother's tone turned cold and final. "Here's the deal. Apologize to Jasmine or find somewhere else to live. We're not a halfway house for ungrateful adults who can't control themselves." They also decided I'd start paying rent, $300 a month, while still cooking, cleaning, and catering to Jasmine whenever she wanted. "Think of it as earning your keep," my father explained, as if this were some lesson in responsibility rather than punishment. But what they didn't see was the change inside me. Every lie, every insult, every attempt to make me say sorry for being assaulted was shaping something hard and focused in my chest. I stopped fighting back. I stopped defending myself. I began nodding at their demands, speaking softly, doing what they asked. They thought they'd crush me. They thought I'd learn my place. They had no idea I was plotting my escape. While they congratulated themselves for fixing me, I was quietly working 18-hour days on something far beyond their imagination. After washing their dishes and folding their laundry, I would shut my bedroom door, open my laptop, and slip into another life. They thought I was a failure, an unemployed disappointment. In reality, my business degree and internship experience had made me a prime candidate for roles far from our tiny town. Seattle tech companies were courting me. Recruiters were messaging me. Former colleagues from Chicago were recommending me for high-level positions across the country. But I told no one. When my phone rang during dinner, I'd shrug it off as spam. When I went for a walk, I was taking interviews in my car, parked behind the grocery store. Slowly, I moved my important papers to a safe deposit box: birth certificate, social security card, transcripts, references. I opened a bank account they didn't know about and transferred small amounts at a time. I researched apartments in Seattle, calculated cost of living down to the last dollar, and built a budget that would let me vanish completely. They believed they'd broken me. They thought their violence and manipulation had worked. But each night while they slept, I was building a plan to disappear, leaving them scrambling without their unpaid servant. They didn't see it coming, and I wanted it that way. The only person who helped keep me sane was Maya, my college roommate who had moved to Seattle after graduation. She worked at a tech startup and had been quietly watching my situation with growing concern. During one of our video calls, something happened that accidentally revealed my family's true nature. I used to think I had privacy in my own room, but Maya saw the truth the day my mother barged in without so much as a knock. "Chloe, fold your sister's laundry and put it away," she ordered, "and make sure her interview outfit is ironed." "Mom, I'm in the middle of a call," I whispered, trying not to sound irritated. "I don't care," she snapped. "Jasmine's needs come first. You can talk to your little friends later." When the door finally closed, Maya's face on my screen was filled with fury. "Chloe, that isn't normal. That's abuse." "It's fine," I began automatically, but she didn't let me finish. "No, it's not fine. You're an adult with a degree, not a servant. I'm going to help you get out of there." Maya had connections in Seattle's tech world, and within a week, she lined up 3 remote interviews for me. All were for solid roles: business analyst, project coordinator, the kind of jobs that could actually support a comfortable life in the city. While Maya was quietly building me an escape route, my family was digging my prison deeper. At dinner one night, my father announced we should set up the basement as Chloe's permanent room. Clearly, she's not going anywhere, and this works for everyone. My mother nodded, like it was the most logical thing in the world. She's finally learned her place, and Jasmine needs the help. Jasmine, meanwhile, had rushed headfirst into an engagement with a guy named Brad after just 3 months. She came to me as if it were a given. "You're so organized, Chloe. You'll plan the wedding for me. It's not like you have anything else to do." The entitlement was staggering. They truly believed I existed only to serve them. What they didn't know was that I already had a job offer in the works. The paperwork was almost done, and in 3 weeks, I'd be gone for good. They were mapping out my lifelong servitude while I was plotting my permanent exit. Before I tell you how it all unfolded, I have to ask, would you have tried to repair things with a family like that? Or would you have vanished the way I did? One Friday night in April, a month after the bowl incident, the email arrived. An official job offer from Cascade Technologies in Seattle. Project coordinator. Salary of $68,000 a year. Start date May 1st. That same night, my parents and Jasmine went to some expensive restaurant to celebrate her engagement. I wasn't invited. They left me behind to scrub the house in preparation for the engagement party. The irony wasn't lost on me. With 4 hours of solitude, I put my plan into motion. I moved through the house with precision, packing only what mattered: my clothes, laptop, documents, and a few childhood keepsakes. 2 suitcases, 3 boxes. Everything fit in my car. Then I sat at the very kitchen table where my mother had once thrown a bowl at my face and finally wrote the letter I had been composing in my head for months. To the family that never treated me like family, I began. I laid it all out. 26 years of being treated like free labor, while Jasmine was adored for simply existing. The physical assault they tried to deny. The emotional abuse disguised as lessons. The silence and neglect during my hardest moments. "You wanted a servant, not a daughter," I wrote. "And when I finally resisted, you answered with violence. You demanded apologies when you should have been the ones apologizing." I told them about the job in Seattle, that I was leaving immediately, and that I never wanted contact again. I made sure they understood their actions had consequences. "You'll realize soon enough how much unpaid work I did for you. Good luck replacing me." I left the letter on Jasmine's pillow beside the engagement dress she'd expected me to iron. At 10:47 p.m., I drove away for the last time. Before leaving town, I blocked their numbers, deleted them on social media, and gave Maya strict instructions never to share my new address or phone number with anyone. The 14-hour drive to Seattle felt like shedding layers of weight. Each gas stop, Each coffee refill made me lighter. By the time I reached the parking lot of my new apartment on Sunday morning, my phone was buzzing nonstop with calls from unknown numbers and friend requests from distant relatives. They had read the letter. I turned the phone off and walked into my new life without looking back. 6 months later, I was thriving in ways I'd never imagined. My job at Cascade was exactly what I'd hoped for. I had my own apartment with a view of the Space Needle, co-workers who respected me, and a social life not tied to servitude. Meanwhile, back home, the cracks in my family's carefully maintained facade were widening. Maya kept me updated through mutual acquaintances. My parents couldn't keep up with basic housework. They tried hiring cleaners, but could only afford them twice a month, leaving the house in constant disarray. Jasmine's wedding was chaos without me to handle every detail. They had to hire a planner for $12,000, and the engagement party had been a complete mess since nobody knew how to cook or manage vendors. My father, for the first time in decades, was forced to wash his own laundry. My mother burned meals constantly. Relatives began asking questions they couldn't answer. Where's Chloe? Why won't she return calls? My parents' excuses didn't hold up. That's when I understood something vital. Forgiveness isn't owed to people who throw things at your face when you dare to stand up for yourself. Sometimes the only way to survive is to disappear. So I'll ask you, have you ever had to walk away from a toxic family? What would you do if your own mother hurled something at you just for speaking up? For me, leaving was the only way to reclaim my life.